Welcome back to my whistle-stop tour of Manchester's Southern Cemetery. In the first video I looked at the graves of John Alcock, John Henry Davis and Daniel Adamson, all found in the centre circle area. But next I'm moving away slightly to another grave, one with a tragic tale.
So just leaving the centre circle, which is down there, I'm just to the north-east. I just want to show you this one very quickly. This is the grave of Charles Sacra, the chief mechanical engineer on the Manchester, Sheffield and Lincolnshire Railway. Now he worked out of the locomotive works in Gorton. Now sadly in 1884 there was a major crash on that railway line to Sheffield, a place called Penistone, where several carriages left the line, left the track and rolled down the hill, killing 19 people. Now being the chief mechanical engineer, Sacra felt partially responsible for that for some reason, even though he really wasn't. And he retired at the age of 53 shortly afterwards. Now the crash affected him badly, even though it wasn't his fault, and he was racked by guilt in those later years. Unfortunately, he lost his battle and shot himself in 1889. Now this is a great opportunity to actually talk about the architecture of monuments in cemeteries. Now this one is obviously Christian, it's quite unique looking. But down there you can see there's a Greek memorial next to an Egyptian memorial, and there's loads around here, obelisks and Doric columns. Now what's all that about? These are pagan symbols for Christians, for Christian graves. And it all goes back to a fashion at the time. Now back in the day, wealthy people thought that classical architecture like obelisks had a kind of timelessness about them, and that's what they saw, that's what they wanted for their own memorials. So if you're ever walking around a cemetery and you see a load of obelisks or Doric columns, don't be baffled. It's what wealthy people wanted. They wanted that timeless, that historic, that powerful look about their memorials. So. And finally, for today, we come to one of the most famous sons of the city, LS Lowry, Lawrence Stephen Lowry, the artist, who's buried just off the central thoroughfare running through the cemetery. Now, he was born in 1887 in Stretford and died in 1976 at the ripe old age of 88. Now, unlike many other artists, Lowry never struggled to make a living through his work while he was alive, but it was only after his death that his popularity really took off. Now, despite what many people think, Lowry did actually have art training. He studied at Manchester School of Art and Salford Technical College. He could paint in many different styles, but he actually wanted to find something which was different and unique. In 1910, his father moved the family from the gated community of Victoria Park in Longsight to Pendlebury, which was an industrial monster of coal mines and cotton mills. Now, not surprisingly, Lowry wasn't very happy about it. So the story goes that one day Lowry missed his train to work. He worked in the city centre and he missed his train and he started walking home, and on his way he passed a cotton mill and saw the women walking about at the change of a shift, and he had a kind of epiphany. This was going to be his subject matter.
His paintings were unique, settings depicted in bleak colours, mills, factories and cobbled streets. The people he painted were often depicted in his trademark matchstick man style, often looking distraught, tired, and usually on their way to work in some unappealing place. They weren't landscapes or wealthy people posing for portraits. This was working class life of shared activities marked by a feeling of individual loneliness. It was the real world, gritty and uncomplicated, something that appealed to everyone. A reserved man with no wife or children, one person who did come to know him well was a 13-year-old girl called Carol Ann Lowry, who had written to him saying she wanted to be an artist one day. Despite the name, she was no relation. Lowry paid her a visit at her home in Haywood and took her under his wing, treating her to concerts, trips to the theatre and so on. And when he died, he left virtually everything he had to her. Now, strangely enough, when she later went to collect some unfinished works from NatWest Bank on King Street, she discovered a whole series of erotic and sadistic drawings that Lowry had drawn but never displayed. Carol Ann suspected that the girl in some of the drawings was her, leading many to speculate that Lowry had a darker side that he kept well hidden. The truth is, we'll probably never know.
Then again, many artists throughout history have flirted with the slightly pornographic. I remember in the 60s and 70s, nudity and sexuality were becoming more mainstream, more accepted expressions of art. So there's nothing to suggest that Lowry should be ashamed of any of that.
Lowry was also a big fan of the ballet, which may be what these pictures are inspired by. Also, these pictures are not so far removed from his other more familiar work. In both, the subjects are depicted as detached puppet-like figures, reduced by the context in which they live and work.
Still, his art was unique, and no matter how cynical you want to get about his life, it's hard to deny that he captured working class life in Northern England on canvas in a way that had never been done before. So that's it for now, for this video at least. I'll be doing more videos in future, more tales of Manchester's Southern Cemetery, because there's plenty more to come. We'll be looking at more Man United, the Manchester days, and Moore's murderers. So, for now, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye.